My real career was in bartending. I was a bartender.
Wow, that's super interesting.
In the 20s, when I started working in nightclubs and bars, a lot of the employees hadn't filed their taxes in half a decade. Sort of built this following on Granville Street, which is downtown Vancouver, where the clubs are, that I'm a bartender that would do your taxes. Basically.
Right, that's super interesting.
Who all of a sudden starts earning more money is that, yeah, you're fine to do it yourself, and then a life change happens, marriage, children, just a high promotion, and now everything is different, and that's when some advice from somebody who's been there before makes sense and will save you often tens of thousands of dollars, right? So there's just things of that nature that are second nature to accountants, but the average person doesn't always think about, right?
Hey guys, today we have Marcin Delecki out of Vancouver, BC. He's leading Defco Financial. I've seen him on Instagram. I actually looked at his page before and I really liked the content he had, but I wish he would post more. So instead of like telling him to post more, I just figured invite him on the show because he seems super interesting. So without further ado, I'm going to let him tell you about himself. But thank you for joining the show, Marcin.
Yep.
And
thank you for having me.
Of course. Let's get right into it. So your origin story, where did you start and why are you here now?
Yeah, my origin story made me think about that coming on this show. Probably reverse for most CPAs. I started doing accounting work and then led to a level where I should become a CPA. If that makes any sense. Mm-hmm. I'm Eastern European and Polish. My family had a family business. So in the early 90s, my mother traded me a computer she would buy for me so that I would learn bookkeeping and print checks for her, which back then was a bigger deal than it is today.
Yeah, that was huge.
So that's how I started. And, it was always seen as a family duty because I never got paid for that work, right? I just did it, and I did the bookkeeping, and, I was 16 to 25, and I kept doing that. My real career was in bartending. I was a bartender.
Wow, that's super interesting.
In the 20s, when I started working in nightclubs and bars, a lot of the employees hadn't filed their taxes in half a decade, and they were getting chased and stuff. And even though I wasn't a CPA then, I did my personal taxes since I was 16. So I'm like, yeah, I'll help you. I'll do this return, and sort of built this following on Granville Street, which is downtown Vancouver, where the clubs are, that I'm a bartender that would do your taxes. Basically.
Right. That's super interesting.
Yeah. And then so with that, as people got older and I got older, because I was a bartender till my mid-30s, so quite a long time.
That is like one of the most interesting CPA stories, how you started your client base. Love it.
Yeah, I mean, and then as I got older and the bartenders, servers, and different people in that business that I met, they started expanding into, hey, I bought a liquor store. Hey, I bought a restaurant. Hey, I'm starting a business, or I became an actress or an actor even. Some of them, that was their thing. And they need an accountant. So as those needs grew, I got to a point where I'm like, okay, I should probably become a CPA, but it was really just sort of like the ending point for me, something that was sort of happening to me anyways. Mm-hmm. And yeah, so then that's how I grew this business. It was just basically one tax return, one bookkeeping engagement at a time, and one need at a time, right? It went from, hey, how do I get a mortgage, right? So I started helping people liaison with banks to get mortgages and line of credits and different lending products. And I became an expert in helping them, support them in that application process. Even to this day,
interesting.
We'll do anything with our clients to help them apply. If we have to get Nexus, which is the Canadian version of Trusted Traveler, we'll get that for you. You want to get a credit card, we'll apply for credit cards for you. You want to close a credit card, we'll do that for you as well. We do a lot of non-standards accounting work because we can help people. It's part of our mantra to help people and try to move things forward. So we'll do it. Yeah, tax keeping, bookkeeping is the core, but it's not the be all and end all of what we do, right? So yeah, essentially I got to a level where everybody needed something and I became certified as a result of that, right? So even when I was working for my family, I was still bookkeeping and liaisoning with the accountant end of the year. He was like, you should become an accountant. You're really good at this. And I'm like, really? Because I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
Like, that was
What were you thinking at that time?
I was 16, 17, 18. Yeah, I was good at bookkeeping, but I wanted to make money. I wanted to meet girls. I wanted to party. I wasn't thinking about I wasn't thinking about, oh yeah, I'm going to sit here, do year-end financials for people and talk to the bankers to like, it wasn't really a thing, right? Like, I know there's multi-generational families of accountants, but like, it's hard to sell your kids that are 15. I'm like, you're going to be an accountant. They're like, oh, like, yes, it's a great profession. I'm not knocking it. It's just not that glamour profession like being, even a police officer or an actress or anything like that. It's a profession, right? So it is very important. And I think sometimes what we take for granted when you do know finances and you do know accounting is that not everybody does, right? So that was a learning curve for me as well, because I'm like, who would pay for this? This is easy. But really, the idea is that's not easy for everybody, right? So,
that's super interesting. That's such a unique path, right? I would even go as far as calling it just non-traditional, right?
Traditional. Like in my early 20s, I wasn't thinking of working at a firm to get my articling done. None of that was happening. Even the articling I did do, I found a small firm because I was still bartending, and I'm like, I can't be there at 9. I got to be there at noon, right? So they gave me this flexible schedule to allow the article from like noon to 7 p.m. and do those hours then because I was never going to be able to get up for 9 in the morning, right? So it was definitely a different path. It was definitely the industry path, right? But I mean, the bartending work, hospitality still drives me to this day, right? Simple things that happen in nightclubs and bars and restaurants, like we promo food and drink for people to make them happy. I would rather promo work now to make you happy later, because we think about lifetime value. We don't care about losing that $10 drink value today, as long as you keep coming every day for the next 6 months, 6 years. And I feel the same way about my accounting work now, where I'm not looking to hit and run you for 6 months of fees. I'm looking to, have a 10-year relationship, and then it's going to work out. It doesn't matter what the price is right now, right?
Yeah, that's super interesting. So the way you describe that, right, that lifetime value, for us marketing nerds, like it's LTV, right? We talk about CAC, LTV, all right. Which one are you going to do? Are you going to be the quick marketer that like gets the fast buck, sells the course, or are you going to start selling businesses with people? So I'm on the second part of that. Like that's what I'm me personally going for, but you saying that, I'm super interested with other business opportunities you might run into. Have you been, I just had a guest on that never thought they would be selling as many businesses as they are. So
definitely. I've gotten into, transitioning of businesses. I have so my family business, my mom's a dentist. And as a result of this, I have a large amount of dental clients because referral is easy.
Wow.
So there's a lot of transitioning.
Wait, one moment. That is what they sell, actually. They sell dental clients, dentistries, right? But please go on. Transitioning dental practices or medical practices is a very big business because it is a profession and you build up a goodwill there with the client base and you move it forward. So there's definitely that I didn't think I was going to get into. Definitely heavy lending support is something I wasn't going to get into because lately, in the last few years, everybody's applying for, home valuations have gone up. There's home equity line of credits, all this kind of stuff, different kind of VC financing. I had a lot of clients who are startups, but really they've grown organically some good sales and need the next level of funding to get to the next level of growth. So I've been pitching to VC companies on their behalf because I'm the only one that actually understands the numbers to sell to them. So I do a lot of things like that I've never thought I was going to get into. Nothing I really personally was geared towards. I never wanted to start a tech startup and be the next, Zuckerberg or anything, but I'm happy to help people any way I can. And it's adds more value, as we like to say on the internet, to their to their overall experience with me, right? So Right. And I'm sure you've seen quite a bit in doing that. So the guest that I had on my podcast that is also focused on dentistry, right? I'll ask you this. Are you solely focused in Vancouver or BC or all of Canada? Or do you...
I'm in the cloud, as they say. All my stuff is online, so I can work anywhere, and obviously I can work with anybody. Definitely throughout Canada, no problem. I'm not an American CPA, I'm a Canadian CPA, so I do some American tax work in the context of Canadian people owning real estate in the States or having business in the States, but I'm not primarily focused in the US. But yes, definitely you don't have to be in Vancouver to meet me. I do Zoom meetings like we're doing right now. In fact, people that are in Vancouver, I tell them don't meet me and do the Zoom meeting.
Awesome.
A fun thing for me is if you can't do a Zoom meeting, I probably won't take you on as a client. It's sort of like a thing for me now.
That's
Um,
cool.
which
Love
is so
it.
much more efficient, right? Uh, Without going heavily into the bookkeeping, bookkeeping has changed, right? I'm not pulling up a ledger and going manually and everything. Everything is in the cloud with bank feeds, and we're using at
Right.
least 3 apps to deliver bookkeeping services. So if you can't do a Zoom meeting, you're probably not going to embrace like Receipt Bank and QuickBooks Online or whatever we're using, right? So
Okay.
those are like sort of metrics that I use to when I start gauging clients. A lot of people are like, "Oh, how much money can you bring in?" I'm not worried about the money. I'm more worried about, can you deliver the items I need from you, right? So can you
Mm-hmm.
do a Zoom meeting? Can you submit that receipt on a timely basis? Because those things will help me deliver a better service for you, right? Um,
100%.
yeah, so that's usually what a big thing we focus on. It's probably my biggest hurdle was learning that there's some clients that can give you all the money in the world every month,
Mm-hmm.
don't deliver goods for 90 days, slam you with it, they're like, have it done in 2 days. You're like, that's not going to work. It doesn't matter if you give me $20,000 a month. It's more about participation with it as a team, and that's what I go for. And I will take a smaller salary for that if it's smoother, right? So there's
Right. Definitely.
a lot of changes that way that I've learned, because when I first started, everything was with family, right, and friends. So everybody was willing to help me with that process because they knew me personally. As that's grown to where I don't know people personally as well, it becomes a gauging thing that they're willing to participate in the process, right? So
Definitely, definitely. And as far as in working in the cloud, working on Zoom and
mhm,
serving clients there, right? I've seen a lot of that, here in the States. I've seen a lot of that. I've heard in Australia,
mhm.
in the UK. But are your clients? Are you seeing the business environment receptive to that in Canada, or is that kind of?
Yes, definitely. Very similar to the states. We're so close to the states. We could be another state,
Right.
but there's still a generational gap there, right? So if you're looking
Mhm.
at anybody in our age range from 25 to 40, yeah, if they're using a cell phone nonstop, they're going to be receptive um, to using the cloud services because they can log into one no problem, and those are easy things for them to do. You look at
Yeah.
somebody maybe a little older who's not so sharp with their smartphone, they might see it as a hurdle.
Right.
Um,
Like JJ, the CPA, and his client, he's saying that his clients, some of them are not as, you know,
Yeah, and so the service we build around that is we allow them just to mail things into us, and we have a service here where we will digitize and make those things cloud available for them. So it's
mm,
cost them a little more. So if they're not willing to embrace it, we can help them do it for money. Also,
mhm.
if they're a larger organization and they have an assistant, we can just train a younger assistant to do that for them, which is always an easier solution. But yes, it's a
Okay,
generational thing for sure. We're also on the West Coast, a little progressive. I'm sure in the Midwest of Canada, it'll be a little harder, right, than the major
mhm,
centers that is Vancouver and Toronto, for example.
for sure.
So it's every client's different, right? That's what we always say: price the client, not the service, because
Definitely.
as one client at $500 a month is wildly profitable, and one client at $4,000 a month is not, right? And it's just we
Yeah,
try to gauge it from that perspective, how we can help them and what they're willing to do, right? So
definitely. Man, I I wish younger kids would know more about accounting and how well cool and sexy it actually is, because that has been the narrative for a long time. Like, just as you were saying, like bars and clubs and girls as a
yeah,
young
man,
guy, right? Versus
that's what drives young
accounting.
people, though, right?
Accounting. So like basically, I don't know if you can tell, but like I am basically branding myself as like that guy
Yeah,
for the kids to then make accounting cool. Like it's this whole it's an entire, almost lifelong execution for me,
of
which is
course,
kind
of
of
course,
it might be confusing to a lot more conservative people, right?
of
So
course,
that's I could care less about losing small clients right now,
of course.
based off of the way I'm behaving, right, or portraying
Yeah,
myself, when there's actually a bigger mission. I care about financial literacy. But with that topic, I would love to get your opinion on the differences between, Vancouver, okay, and I guess the States. And I don't know if you know anyone in Oregon, that type of thing, or, have any business partners there, because I know that a lot of CPAs in Vancouver do. they have U.S. business partners, right? So if you wouldn't mind speaking on some of the differences that you notice.
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be small differences because geographically the population behaves differently, right? Probably the biggest difference I see is, in the States, I find a lot of clients are a little more reactive. They're like, when we need something, I need you now, right? Because they need to borrow, or they need to start a business, or they've already started a business and they're behind, or somebody's calling them.
Okay.
Uh, um, and I've also, but the population base is there is higher. From the advisor point of view, I find that accountants there might be overworked just because the population base of Vancouver, which is a major city, is still way smaller than Portland, let alone LA, San Diego, and those kind of towns. So I feel a lot of professionals that are overworked and just don't have time to get back to everybody. And there's only so much they can do because you're only one person. Even in a large office, you're only 20 people. It doesn't matter. There's only certain limits. So I find that's always a struggle trying to get time with an advisor in the States. Now, having said that, there are a lot that are coming through, many on your show. We're changing that all around, right? JMac, Jay did the CPA, Tyler McBroom is changing that. He's all over the place answering DMs. So there are people changing that. I'm just saying in general. We can always, I know accountants here in Vancouver who aren't even using caseware for their financial preparation. They're doing things on paper still, right? Because they're an older generation in the 60s. So there's always the same person somewhere. I think at the end of the day, once you go more tech and international, or at least non-geographically based, there's no going back, right? There's just no going back because you can help so many more people in a faster time frame, right?
Definitely. No, that makes a lot of sense. And do you have any, U.S. partners?
I don't have any direct U.S. partners, but I know who I can reach out to if I do need to get some U.S. partners, like JJ the CPA or So that's a big factor why I sort of keep track of things online. You never know how you can help each other, right? So I don't usually 100%. Encounter a lot of U.S. tax work, but it does come up on occasion, right? So as people come in and buy a Palm Springs property, for example, or things of that nature, right? So
right.
So
yeah, because that whole I was recording that dentist episode this week, really, and I might make that introduction, and it's funny how coincidental that is, but no, I mean that's something I've been thinking a lot about. My team, the things that are big in business, right? They're not accomplished by one person at all. So would love to ask you about your team. How big is your team?
It's still pretty small, probably about 4 people, really 3.5, because one person's part-time. It's I'm the only CPA. I have a bookkeeper and administrative assistant, and then sort of like a all-around guy, the guy that will get in a car and drive anywhere to do anything. And he helps me sort of solve problems last minute. And he's really he's actually more instrumental than the other two, because when things go sideways and I need something picked up or dropped off, he will literally at midnight drive across the city to make it happen. So, so yes, I definitely want to give props to my friend Chanel. He definitely he fixes things for me for sure, and it's not necessarily all accounting based. So that's great.
Love it. And your client base, right? What are your, I guess, future plans to grow? Because I do have a Vancouver client, and by the way, do you know who they are? Because
I don't know.
Sometimes, or like in the past when I did post a lot to their stories, and for them, I did see your profile, look at it, but you do like I said, you're there online, right? Looking at things. So that's super interesting. And what I would say about my client is they're they have a nice business, and they're funny that your name is Marcin. They're marching, slowly growing it, right? But everyone has a different ambition, is what I would say. So, right? So,
well, what I'm going to tell you is I love everything that you do online. I love the Instagram platform, even for myself personally, when it is much underutilized. Like you said, I should post more. But what the fear always has been for me personally with social is that, it's great to become an influencer. It's great to be the dominant market in your field. But if you bring me 1,000 clients in the next 3 months, I'm effed, right? Like,
it's not gonna,
you want to provide good service. So sometimes the fear is that getting too many leads, too many things is an issue too, because it is a service. It's not just selling a widget and here you go, the transaction's over, right? So that's always been a concern of mine. Having said that, I've only started doing Instagram maybe 7 months, and like I said, very casually in comparison to what you guys do. I've already seen very positive results from it, in the sense that I have several clients that were existing clients, but now only DM me because they don't want to call me anymore. They don't want to text me. They DM me. Even those interactions are a huge difference. And I'll tell you this, anybody under 26 will only DM me. And that's not an attack on anybody. It's just a very cognizant thing that's how it's done now for a certain generation. And I'm happy to embrace that. I mean,
so even though your email is there in the profile, they will not email you.
And there's a booking link. You can book me yourself. You can do the whole thing yourself. You don't need to actually take a gamble on when I'm going to be available. We can have a schedule of things set up ahead of time, and I'll send you an email, just like we did this thing. Still, a lot of people just like to DM and get it out of the way. People will actually DM me photos of their slips, and like, here's all my slips. Can you give my tax? All right. It's fine. It's fine. It's just different than the way I would do things.
Of course.
And on the flip side, there's people who are in their 60s who are like, I want to come see you. I'm like, no. You don't come see me. You can mail it if you have to. But, and we can have this meeting. I can talk to you on the phone. So, obviously I let people come to the office if that's the case. But in general, I try to say that, well, here's what I'm trying to say to most people. I can meet with you literally once a day on Zoom or once every 6 months live, right? So I think more frequent contact is better to solve problems before they arise, because we both know the issues with accounting, why people leave accountants, lack of communication, not proactive. I talk to them once a year. So with Zoom, I can talk to you, even the smallest annual client, I can talk to you once every 2 months, and we can keep in touch, see what's going on with you. Maybe you are selling your condo today. Maybe we don't wait till next April to figure that out, right? So there's a lot of issues of that nature that I like to keep tabs on, and I find that's really what I sell. I'm sure there's better accountants than me. I don't often say that, but just the fact that I sell people the reassurance, I'm here for you, I'm available, call me, text me, right? Or Zoom me, and we'll be in touch, right? And that's usually what people just want. They want to be acknowledged.
Getting stuff done for your clients.
Yeah, getting stuff done for my clients. I think, a lot, we use the word value a lot online, and it is value, but at the end of the day, people just want to feel reassured that it's going to be okay, right? So whatever we're doing, right? So, and that's what truly we sell, is helping people with whatever that help is. And some people could have great books and just need that reassurance to be like, yes, you're fine, right? It's not everybody's in a complete collapse situation and everything's wrong and they're completely getting screwed over. Some people are totally fine. They're just so anxious about it. They just want to be told they're fine, right? So
definitely. That's something that I've been seeing as far as, what my clients have spoke to when I ask them, okay, how many highlights do you have, right? What are your client reviews like? What are your results that, we haven't said yet so that we can start marketing them? They say, they of course give me the tax saving stuff. They give me the cleaning up their book stuff, but then they're like, oh wait, Juan, they feel really good that they don't have to think about this stuff. So, okay, we're marketing now, peace of mind, but we give you as a business owner, right? So, you brought up another interesting point, right? DMing, or you brought up, what happens if I get 100 clients, right?
Sure.
And to that, I'll say, I actually have clients that, they would really like 25 clients in 1 month. And then I have other clients that would like one really high profile client every 2 months. Like these are two different models, 100%. Right? I feel like I'm more of the slower one, right? Like higher, it's more, I'm taking a sniper approach as far as getting my clients, and some accountants may think that, okay, or especially with what I say, with what other marketers are saying, they might say or assume that, I have to be posting a video every day. Well, that's not gonna pay you, man. that's not.
I know, but I will say why I agree with you on this is because the reason I started an Instagram account is, okay, I started following Tyler McBroom. Don't know, I don't know him from a hole in the wall, but I follow him. I feel like I know him really well now because I follow him and he posts so much.
Definitely.
That's why I started posting, because I would like somebody else to feel that way about me, right?
Right.
And with JMac and JJ the CPA, I also don't know them, full disclaimer, but I feel like I do because I watch their stuff all the time, right? And after a certain amount of time, when you need somebody in that profession and you feel like you know somebody, now that's how you go to that person for whatever you need, right? So that's why I think social is so powerful, and what you guys are doing is so powerful, because we all it's turning an average person into a quasi celebrity in their field, and then when somebody has access to you and they need your services, they will contact you, right? And that's where the DM comes in. Right? So.
Right. And it's funny because, not even that many people know me in the accounting space, but some of the best people in the accounting space know me. And I'll give this insight as far as the consistency of posting content. I mean, there's people that I've never heard of before that have been watching my stuff for a year and then reach out and then want service. Like, so that's a nice surprise after a, right.
But that builds into the fact that if I first see you, I'm like, I don't know you. Yeah. And maybe you annoy me. But after watching you for consistently 4 to 6 months, a year, even longer, now I feel like I know you. And now maybe I do like you because you've said some cool stuff and you resonated with me. And that's why people reach out. I feel that's how life works in general. It's just that we used to do it at a bar, and that's how we meet people, right? Because that's what we learned at the bar a long time ago. People don't come here to get loaded because you can get alcohol at home much cheaper.
Definitely.
We come here to meet people and interact and, have an experience. And that's the same thing with what we're doing in accounting now and online is people don't necessarily just come in to do your taxes. If you want to do that H&R Block is available. And we both know how JMac feels about that.
Yeah, so, that's right.
People usually want to have a relationship with somebody, right? And then, and then they love to use the fact that I have a guy, right? Because now we're their guy. And once you're their guy,
nice.
That's becomes the whole thing, right? That's a relationship now. It's not a tax prep or a bookkeeping engagement. It's now you're helping them, right? And that's what we try to get to. I'm sure I know you are, is that we're providing a bigger brand of what we do. Because otherwise, yes, bookkeeping can be broken down to an hourly wage, and you can always find somebody online to do it for less, right? So it's not about the pricing. It's about building the relationship, and then hopefully moving forward, right?
No, I love it, man. And back to the frequency of posts, right? I'm just going to give the audience like a curveball here, but I never ever say this or talk about it, but it's something that I actually know, right? Let's say you just have on Instagram, right? The way it's set up, let's say you just have 9 videos and that's it on your page that describe your practice, your services, what you've done for clients, what methodology are you taking, right? And they're just really nice minute-long videos, or maybe they're all IGTV videos. And then instead of spending all your time posting, you spend all your time commenting on your clients, right? Your prospects pages and DMing them and really just doing back to the bar, right? Really just talking to them, just open conversations. So that's a sales strategy that probably a lot of people wouldn't guess I support. So
no, I mean, I follow the big brands like, the Gary V's of the world and stuff. So I get, and I've read Crush it many times. So I get about
love it.
Give without taking, right? So I'm all about that. It's the new economy anyways. There's people who are willing to spend a lot of money with you, just not right away, right? I've been sucked into many apps for a freemium thing that started off as a freemium thing, and now I give them $500 a year forever, right? So it's the same thing. It's now we're doing it with accounting. It is the future. I understand there's certain generations are like, well, I don't want to pay a monthly fee. I get that, but in general, it's the way it's moving forward, and it also allows for everything to move smoother because if you're paying me monthly, I'm talking to you monthly, you're bringing me stuff monthly, and then we're just on top of it, right? Because half the problems in accounting is just people not being on top of stuff, and now it's a nightmare, right? And even the most complex stuff can be easy if it's just done as you go. Right? That's usually how I always tell. This is part of my pitch when I talk to people. Just doing it as you go. Usually, what we aim to do here when a bookkeeping client is you submit daily, and the next day it's done. Like we just basically watch for daily submissions. And then as daily submissions come in, we just process that day so that if there is an issue, we contact you that day so that by the month end, when that statement comes up for reconciliation, it's really, there might be 1 or 2 items that are not there, but in general, it's already done, right? So that's what we try to aim for, as live as possible. There's always a little bit of ebb and flow there, but as live as possible for sure. So.
Yeah. So something stuck out there too, like everyone knows that for some people, you don't need an accountant, right? But it's extremely profitable for you, especially if you're a business person or you're a high income individual, to have an accountant, a CPA,
Of course.
do your taxes. Like, come on, right? So,
I equate taxes with electrical work. So the reason I equate it to that is because a lot of people can buy a fixture and install it. Not a big deal. A lot of people can maybe even buy a receptacle and install it. Not a big deal. But maybe if you're running a whole new line in your house, it's a little bit of a bigger deal. And the problem in business is you can start off, or even just being an employee who all of a sudden starts earning more money, is that, yeah, you're fine to do it yourself. You're fine to do it yourself. And then a life change happens, marriage, children, just a high promotion. And now everything is different. And that's when some advice from somebody who's been there before makes sense and will save you often tens of thousands of dollars, right? But
definitely.
even if it doesn't, we can maximize how much you are paying. Because I've seen this a lot with a young person who, you finish school, you're making no money, you're getting money back every year. All of a sudden you got that first job, it's like, bam, you owe money, right? Or you're self-employed and that first sole proprietorship, hey, you didn't put any taxes in, hey, bam, you owe money.
You owe
so
money.
A lot of that, yeah, that's a big one. So a lot of that can be mitigated with some tax planning, or even just telling them ahead of time, this is going to happen, so you can be ready for it 6 months out. I can often project in November what you're going to owe in April, so even if it is tens of thousands of dollars, we can be ready for it, as opposed to getting sprung on you, 2 days before it's due, right? So
definitely. And yeah, you described that very well. And I would even say for the young entrepreneurs out there, right, that don't, being in Silicon Valley, an accountant, good CPA is probably one of the best things they could have to even pitch more VCs, right? So, and I mean,
pitch
even
more VCs and keep you easy on the hiring. A lot of tech startups hire. And
yeah, feel free. Talk a little bit about this.
Oh yeah, so VC, tech startups, but any new business, people tend to go hire because they need the workflow, money's coming in. And it is important, but there is going to be a balancing act there where you have to go, well, this employee costs you this much, so are they producing to that, right? It's different in a startup when there's no money to begin with. They're just doing a lot of research and development. But even in a regular business where there's sales, are they involved in sales? Like, who's going to be your first employee? Are you hiring somebody to help you make more sales, or somebody to help you more back-end stuff? In my world, I hire people with my back-end stuff. I'm the only one doing sales. But maybe in a different person's company, they may want to have more salespeople, right? So that's important, because when you do start running out of money, you're going to have to start cutting people. So I would rather you hire with prudence, and then, it's always easy to acquire a new person. It's hard to get rid of 10 good people, right? So that's usually how I usually go with it when I tell clients about watching how fast you hire.
Right.
Because usually the mentality is hire people, work on the business, hire people. And that is important. You don't want to be working in the business all the time. I get that. But in the beginning especially, there has to be a balancing act where you do some work as you bring people on.
Okay. So speaking of hiring, just because, we commented on this yesterday with J Mac and Jake for in the crew, but hiring, right? Hiring versus outsourcing. What are your opinions on that?
Okay. The trend has been to go outsourcing, and the price point overseas is remarkably low. You won't be able to beat that locally no matter where you're located in North America. Having said that, I think there's a balancing act. The benefit of being in the cloud is that I can lock down, I can compartmentalize the work, right? So I can be like, hey, you can look at this client only in this application only, and it'll send to another application that you don't have access to. So that's a positive. So there's a lot of control there. I like to have a lot more staff, internally, really, they're working from home half the time, but in general, locally, so I can have access to them and I can know where they're at. I haven't fully gone across, overseas, but I have looked into it heavily. It's a very enticing idea. I think the security infrastructure with technology is there where we can totally execute that. I think for me only, to be honest with you, I don't have the patience maybe to train non-native speaking Canadian employee at this juncture, but I know all the major firms in Canada use it, even the medium-sized firms. The profit spread's too high, right? It's just not. It's
right.
From what I've seen, you can get a full accountant CPA in certain countries for $340 US a month, right? You can't fight that price point with anybody, right? So.
Right, right. And I mean, even for me, growing a marketing firm, I would have to agree. Like it's it's tough to train employees, right? But you know, if I can get my younger brother and his friends easily train them to edit videos, just
Sure.
how I edit them, that's pretty cool. Getting a sales team together to then sell to more accountants, that's extremely difficult right now, right?
Well,
Um,
the problem with that accounting industry, it's a very like
I know it, right?
I know you
So
know it. It's very,
who
but it's very
who
written,
else?
very like very. It's we don't really okay. We get attacked a lot by other advisors. Forget marketers. We get attacked by
Right.
financial advisors. Let me refer clients to you. You can refer clients to me. Insurance advisors. There's a number of people that contact us on a regular basis. So it's almost like being the hot girl of the club, where you're like, yes, yes, and you're like, no, no, no. You're just saying no to
Right.
people. Not because there's any no offense to you. It's just we just have a tough skin to it. Somebody calls me all the time. Can you refer clients to me? Or better yet, can I send clients to you? I'm like, sure, but not really. Like the answer always is
Mhm.
yes. We're taking on new clients, but we like to vet them a little bit.
Right.
So if I just wanted to have a walk-in enterprise, which is what a lot of people seem to think that accounting firms are, then I would have a storefront like Internet Block, but that's not what we're trying to sell, right? So
Right.
it's it's tough for sure. Like even for me, when I talk to accountants who are like, "Oh, you're in the cloud, Mister in the cloud," I'm like,
Hmm.
I'm just trying to keep up with the tech, right? I mean, but it's I have some accountants are still working in Excel, and that's a wonderful product. But I'm
Hmm.
keeping whole ledgers in Excel, right? And it's totally
Same.
fine. You can totally do it. It's just 20 years old, 30 years old, right? It's early 80s,
Definitely.
right? So that's sort of the biggest thing that's hard with punching through as a salesperson to CPAs. You're not a CPA, so who the hell are you? You're not even an advisor. Who the hell are you? And why will your clients be something I want, right? So those are a lot of
Right.
those frustrations that I'm sure you're dealing with on a regular basis, right?
Definitely. Definitely. And you know, I'm not here. Yeah, I'm not here to get as many clients as possible. I'm really here to help amazing CPAs and accountants and EAs and bookkeepers that have really big dreams get it, because I mean that's the same thing that I'm trying to execute myself. So
Yeah,
it's kind of like, oh, come along for the ride, like
yeah,
with me, right? But back to here's a cool little plug for you, right?
sure.
You talked about like shooing the clients away, right? The hot girl at the club type of thing. What client are you really looking for that you can serve, right?
I guess what I'm looking for, and it's somebody who just sees the value of staying on top of their finances. That's probably the most basic way because I don't like to narrow it down to an industry because there's a lot of people in the high profile industries that everybody's trying to get who just don't care. If the client doesn't care, no matter how much you do,
Hmm.
it's like a relationship. Love can only go has to go both ways, can't go one way. So no matter how much you care, how much you're trying to help, if they don't find value in it, they don't want to provide the information or they provide the information slow, um, it's just not going to work out. All right. I would rather take on a
Hmm.
very small client that pays me next to nothing every month, who participates aggressively, than a really big client who possibly talks down to the whole team, right? And at that
Right.
point, you probably cut the relationship. So that's it's
That's
sort
nice.
of ties into my mantra. It's not about the money; it's about taking care of people, right? And the money will come. So
Love
yeah,
it. Love it. Okay. So, hey, it's been a great interview. A lot of amazing things, successes, right? Well, I want this to be a valuable resource to listeners, business owners, other practices. Um, can you speak on some of the toughest challenges you've had, right, in
yeah,
business?
definitely. We already touched on that. Saying no to business, saying letting go of clients who are not participating. That was always a tough one because it just when you're an entrepreneur, it's hard to say no to incoming funds. And literally, when you first start, you're just excited to get a client, and as clients come in, you take on clients as they come in, and then you realize maybe some of them are not ideal or are not participating, or things slide over time. Um, so definitely the hardest thing was saying no to business when I don't feel it fits what we do here. And
Right.
I do it often, but I always do it with a heavy heart, and I always get PTSD from it, if you will. I always think back, even several years ago, where I've made a decision where I'm like, maybe it was bad decisions. And in one instance, I actually went back to a client after they contacted me after another year, and then I realized, just like a ex-girlfriend, that was a bad decision, and we parted ways again.
That's interesting.
So, but it's it's tough, right? The hardest thing is saying no to clients, and then sometimes judging them based on their participation. And it's not really a money thing, and that always seems a little tough. But when it derails the whole system on my end, it is a two-way street. It can't just be all about me doing everything possible for you. I do that, but you have to help me with that process, right? I need to know stuff, right? So, yeah, that's probably the hardest thing, definitely.
Definitely. And I mean, was there a moment in there where you were like, man, I'm going to have to hang on. I want to fire this client, but I'm going to have to hang on to them because
well, okay, I'll tell you, okay,
flow.
I'll add a little add-on to what makes that difficult. So I have a great client. He's amazing. And he sends me referrals, but all his referrals are terrible. So a couple of those situations, that's what made it difficult. I didn't partner with this main client. He's great. He provides information. He spends the money. But everybody he refers to, and some of them are his friends and family, are not like that. And so that makes it difficult because that's like breaking up with your brother for business, right? Like you don't want to do that because you feel you're sort of obligated. So yeah, it's definitely tough to have a tough transition, but definitely help them, find somebody else and move on. In a lot of the situations, if it is a money thing, I train a lot of people to do things themselves. I'm like, I'll spend 3 hours with you showing how to use QuickBooks Online so you can possibly do this yourself, right? I take the time to try to smooth things over, but it's difficult when it's like from a referral that you are on good terms with, right? From a good relationship.
Right. And, speaking of some of these challenges now, okay, we're past the challenges, right?
Sure.
But I feel that a lot of business owners out there think that like CPAs only care about numbers or only care about taxes or how things look like that, right? And, you might even hear like rhetoric like that from Gary Vee talking about his CFO, so to speak. What would this came to me in just the process of serving CPA clients, serving accountants, and I was like, oh my, forget the word advisor completely. They are more like a financial business coach, right? So like, what are some of the things that I know you spoke about tech and Zoom a little bit, like that would work for a lot of service-based industries, but what are some things like you're, absolutely obsessed with in business that you think business owners should know about accountants that?
Well, I'll quote Gary Vee on this. I'm focused on both the micro and the macro, right? So I think a lot of people are worried about, taxes and stuff, but I'm dealing with a client that's taking over a dental practice. She's a great dentist. She's young. And I'm like, okay, you're taking over this dental practice, and then what? Who's paying who? How's the money coming in? Who's doing payroll? All these micro things. So I'm first focused on helping people operationally establish an accounting system and just understanding of how that process works. Because a lot of people who do something, if it's selling an item for money or a service for money, are really good at that process, but there's a larger process to be built out around it. If you look at large organizations, the reason somebody goes, oh, I was a general manager of a major store, like Best Buy, and everything ran smoothly, but I can't get my own finances going, that's because Best Buy built a system in there that you can't fail. That's what they did. So I'm passionate about building accounting systems for business owners internally so they can follow that. That will now hopefully make it easier for me to deliver year-end accounting as well. And then also the macro, which is then, yes, once we get those basics in, then how are we going to tax plan? How are we going to save money? But really the tax planning, as sexy as it sounds, and saving tens of thousands of dollars is sexy, it comes down to how is your daily process? Because when you have that nightmare, that shoebox nightmare, it's because you have no daily process. So we're trying to build those daily processes and then go turn into weekly processes, monthly. And then later, at the end of all that, when we can measure all those things, then we can talk about tax planning, changing things, and having projections, right? So,
right. Projections. That's another huge topic, man.
We can do this all day.
Right. There's some young entrepreneurs and, e-commerce entrepreneurs that just, get out there and try to do business and really start spending credit without knowing cash flow and get in, really funky situations, right? Which is why, I have so much respect for accountants, and I want to market them so bad because that's exactly what a lot of business owners need. And a lot of accountants, their biggest problem isn't projections, right? It's kind of wanting to grow. So an accountant could pop right out of a firm and make their life very profitable, very fast, right?
Well, I think, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I think in accounting, there's the entrepreneurial accountant and there's the accountant. People gravitate towards a career for different things. So you want safety, and you're always going to have a job, right? You can always work in a firm, and they'll pay you forever, and you'll work forever, and everything will be great. It's just a matter of what you want in life, right? I won't claim that I'm working 4 hours a day and my life's perfect. I put in some heavy hours, even here, like I would at PwC or any other big firm.
Of course.
At least I can argue that I'm doing it for myself and not for somebody else. And that personally gives me a lot of comfort, if anything else.
Love it.
But I feel with the cash flow thing that you said is that a lot of people they see credit as cash. Like if you ever look at the history of how credit cards were marketed to people in the 80s, I saw a lot of ads from the 80s like Visa treated like cash. Well, guess what? They won. In 2019, people do treat Visa like cash. If they have 10 grand of limit left, they think they have 10 grand in cash. And people don't think that way. Right? But that's true. And then, sometimes I have clients who I just got a large contract for 150 grand. They just gave me a deposit. I feel so relieved. I'm like, really? Because you owe 90 grand still. So
we get it.
They don't see the debt. They just see the incoming. So they see the positive cash flow. They don't see the negative cash flow, right? Especially now with more interesting products offered by the banks where maybe it's not a credit card. Maybe it's just a bank account with a overdraft for 90 grand or something insane like that. So everything keeps going, keeps coming in and out, and they seem like they're okay, but really they're slowly drifting down until the bank goes no more credit, and then you're like, right? And then then the next customer becomes more important, right? So trying to plan for those situations, and a big thing we also offer is, hey, you have these bills to pay this month. Let's pay it this way, this way, this way. This person can wait, and then pay this, and this, right? So we try to optimize your cash flow even when you pay, because even for people that do have money, they're like, oh, I'll just pay everything now. I'm like, whoa. We're not giving anybody money before it's absolutely due. We will pay on time, but there's no reason to pay like this, especially when you're dealing with large organizations like an AT&T Wireless or anything of that nature where there's no difference in them. I will say that sometimes when you're working small business to business, you'd like to pay them faster because it's more of a goodwill thing.
Sure.
But for a larger organization where the due date's the due date, it doesn't matter if you pay 10 days earlier. Right?
Love it. That's why I love CPAs and accountants so much, because they're just able to map things out to the win, right? Yeah. Chess match it all the way to becoming profitable. Again, this is me speaking just to the rest of the business owners. I wish, they really knew more about accountants, and I mean, I'll do my part there.
Everybody comes to an accountant when it's when they're in a pickle, right? Or have a problem to deal with, right? If they just came before the problem happened, then we could probably avoid a lot of problems. But sometimes, it's life. It's people live their lives, and you learn through the pain. A lot of my best clients came to me in their worst time, and that's why they really like the fact that there's no more bad times, because they remember what it was like to be in a bad time, right? So even clients who are coming up with a great idea, I'm like, you have $140,000 of personal credit card debt, you have 700 grand in the bank. Why would you be doing this? The interest alone could now afford you another employee. They're like, really? I'm like, yes, really. So there's just things of that nature that are second nature to accountants, but the average person doesn't always think about, right? So
right. You hear that, business owners? Grab these accountants and use them to win before 100%. You get in trouble. Okay, so I have the last question here, and maybe it's a pretty simple question. What do you want listeners to know? But before that, I would like to hijack that question a little bit and make sure that the users know a little bit about me and what I'm doing, just because you actually, you understand bars and clubs and the nightlife scene, right? So I'm actually also marketing music and sports. It just so happens that right now, I just, the accounting market does need what I'm giving right now more than the music and sports execution that me and my brother are doing. That's going to take a very long time. But anyway, I'm going to Las Vegas in a couple of weeks, right? And it's going to look crazy. It's going to look like I'm drinking the entire time. Yet I might have a drink a day.
As you should be.
But right? But it was funny that you said, people don't go to these places just to, get I don't know how you put it, wasted,
You
right?
you don't go to Vegas just to gamble. You go to Vegas for a full experience. And they've, fun fact, in 2012 or 14, their food and beverage entertainment side has now exceeded gaming revenues, right? So this is why they're expanding nightclubs, restaurants, and any kind of entertainment, because that makes them more money now.
People are realizing you can't beat Vegas.
Yeah, they can't be Vegas in gambling, but they can still go have a great time in Vegas for
Yeah.
a multitude of other focus points, right? So that's why it's amazing there.
Love it, love it. And that's exactly what I was gonna get at in terms of telling the guests, like, I'm gonna be there with one of my marketing team members, right?
Mhm.
Even J-Mac might end up there,
Cool.
and we'll create some cool content. But guys, I'm a single 25-year-old guy, right? I'm a single 25-year-old guy with a business. I mean, I'm gonna go and talk to girls at the clubs, but if I drink too much, I'm gonna sound like an idiot when I talk to them, right? So it's funny that you said, like, you go to places to meet people. Yeah, go to.
Some people do like to get out of hand in Vegas, but I do understand what you're saying. You got to stay within the limits of.
I think I'm gonna stay within the limits. These days, I cannot afford to have that college type next day hangover. So
well, I think more difficult than that day over hangover is, well, what if now that maybe nobody knows you, but somebody does know you? What if you get a bad video out there, a little viral video of you being completely out of hand the night before, right? So
right.
Everybody's got a cell phone camera now. Everybody does, right? It just doesn't matter.
Yes.
Right?
You never know. So I'm definitely gonna protect myself like that.
Yeah,
but back to the question, back to the topic at hand. That is what I want the listeners to know, right? Have to do some marketing and some hedging there. But what do you want the listeners to know about you or about business? It can be whatever you want. What do you want them to know?
Probably the biggest thing is go with what you're good at and realize what you're not good at, and then get help in areas you're not good at, right? Even for myself, bookkeeping, I'm good at it, don't like it always, right? So I have people helping me with bookkeeping when I just review. So focus on what you're good at and taking care of the end client, and the money and everything else will always come. I think the more you take care of people, the more they're going to reciprocate with, if it's money or good relationships, a combination of both. That's probably the gist. Yeah.
Love it. Okay. Thank you for dropping so much value on this episode. Thank you for joining the show. Now, where can they find you?
Probably the best way to find me is at Marcin Delecki CPA, MarcinDelecki CPA on Instagram. Also, direct link from there to a booking site, phone number, email, mdelecki@defcofinancial.com. Hopefully you can do something sexy for the edit down there for me. And that's probably the easiest way to get a hold of me.
Definitely. That'll be linked below. And thank you so much, Marcin.
Thank you for having me. I had a great time.
That is it.